All right, it's on now.
Oh, we're on and we're away.
Nice.
Okay, here we go. Look, welcome to Talking Jits and Giggles, episode number 10. We hit double digits.
Ooh.
Ooh, it's a long journey. It's a long journey. Congratulations first of all to
Bryan.
dude that won it.
Oh, Ross Clark, sorry. Ross Clark won the competition for the Scorpion Supplement sample pack. I boosted it up with a bit of Charlie's juice because Charlie's is the best juice out there too.
Nice little plug there. I like that.
It's good.
It's always good. Look, so if you need supplements or anything like that, head down to Scorpion Supplements down in Port Hills Road in Christchurch. Make sure you put a shout out for us if you buy any. Then that way you never know, they might throw you something special. Hey, look, tonight what we have on, or who we have on, is Jason Koster. Welcome. How are you doing?
Howdy. I'm always good. No, I'm pleased to be here.
Pleased to be here. Have you done many? You were probably one of the better ones getting onto Zoom than most people. Maybe you've done it a wee bit before.
Yeah, not my first radio on Zoom or interviews or podcasts, so I came in well prepared. I got my Batman coffee and I'm ready.
Well, you're a famous person on today then. Big dog.
Big dog.
My kids think I'm famous. If you're on the internet, you're famous apparently. So yeah.
My mom says I'm cool.
Yeah.
Oh, look, Jase, look, thanks for coming on. It's like we always do with everyone, mate. Hit us a bit about your background, where you started from, where you are now. For most people that don't know you, I'll just throw it out there now. Jason is more of a judoka person, but has spent a lot of time perfecting his martial arts through the world when it comes to grappling, when it comes to stand-up, even a wee bit of striking and that kind of stuff as well. So his history in his journey through martial arts is quite a in-depth one, I suppose you could say. So tell us a wee bit about that, bud.
Yeah, so I guess I start from my father who, growing up, he was always involved in some type of martial arts. So my club now is based out of Bromley Jiu-Jitsu, and that's literally, where he started his martial arts was at Bromley Jiu-Jitsu. Kind of cool to go full circle. But I got into judo when I was 9 years old. And effectively, it was just the mum and dad wanted us to do something to look after ourselves. Looked at karate, but in karate there wasn't any contact or anything until you got to like green belt. Whereas judo, you could go out there and just throw kids and stuff straight from the word go. So that's where I started, and then I'll sort of skim over the earlier parts. But basically, in about 2006 was when I'll go back a bit. 2004. I was living in Hamilton, and a buddy of mine, Jason Owa, who unfortunately passed away this year, but he called me up and he said, "Hey, I've got this fight in 2 weeks' time, and I'm injured. Are you able to jump in?" I was like, "Oh, what is it?" He goes, "Oh, it's a Vale Tudo fight." And I was like, "What's Vale Tudo?" And he's like, "Oh, it's just like points karate." And I was like, "Points karate? Never thrown a punch in my life. Let's do this." There's a video of it on YouTube actually.
I've seen it. It's a good video.
Yeah. And I go out there in my gi and whatnot. And at that stage, I did judo, but I wasn't really into the ground game. For me at that stage, throwing people was a lot more fun. And so in the fight, you can see my very limited ground game on display. But long story short, after that, moved back to Christchurch, and then this whole MMA, UFC thing started to become a bit more mainstream. And then that's when I started to get into a bit more of the cross training. So initially with Carl Weber, obviously, and we also used to run a Sunday grappling session, which is when I first met Bryan. Yeah, and that's when I really fell in love with the ground game and all the elements of it, because it was like, it was like I was living in a house and I opened up a new room with all these new toys, because it was like, I learning new things about the ground and not just, wait for the ref to stand you up. And then sort of through that period there, because obviously in Christchurch, that stage, martial arts was still in its infancy, really, compared to what it is now. And so I had to cross train a lot. So I was training out of the MMA gyms. I was getting as much grappling BJJ and as I could to supplement my judo. And then along the way, obviously, I competed in a few grappling tournaments and then also ran a few myself. And then I think it was 2011, I finally got awarded a blue belt in BJJ before I headed overseas to train full time in Paris. And proudly, I think I'm going for like the world's longest blue belt because I think like it'll be my 10-year anniversary next year. So
he's still a blue belt.
Yeah, I don't deserve a higher grade though because I don't give enough time to the martial art to deserve a higher grade as far as knowledge goes. So
You beat the shit out of me. I think you deserve to be higher, just for my personal ego.
Brilliant. But with that, I mean, it's been good because with my judo side of things, I've been really, really blessed. I've traveled all over the world with that. And with that, I've been able to visit heaps of BJJ clubs all over the world as well. So in Paris, when I went there, they had a very strong BJJ community. And then naturally in South America as well, training in Brazil and going to a number of clubs there. And it's just awesome because it's like, when you got a gear on your back, it doesn't matter where you go in the world, you kind of got family. So, it's been cool to be able to roll with both the Jits side of things and the judo as well.
Like in France, though, you're saying, because France has got a really strong judo as well, haven't they? I would have thought more judo than jiu-jitsu, but you're saying jiu-jitsu was pretty strong there as well?
It's definitely more judo. Like judo there is probably the second most popular sport. They have their Paris Grand Slam every year. It sells out like 20,000 people that are just fanatical about judo. It's amazing. It's one of my favorite places to compete. But the jiu-jitsu club I went to, I forget the instructor's name, but like one of these guys that had a black belt and you're trying to count the bars on it, it must have been like a 6-star BJJ black belt. It was unbelievable. And I went there as a blue belt and all his guys were blue belts. And they were some of the toughest blue belts I've fought in my life. Reason being is they weren't sandbagging, but they had the European champs coming up and they wanted to go as the blue belt division and take out the blue belt division. But But I couldn't at that stage. I was on a scholarship over there, so to train BJJ, and I only had time to do it once a week. Was going to cost me 30 euros. 15 euros, which is about $30 New Zealand. Yeah. And I had no income, I had no money. I was, wasn't able to do that. So unfortunately, I didn't get to go there too much.
So what rank are you then in judo?
Yeah, I bag people for sandbagging. I'm only a second dan in judo. The reason being, in judo, to get your when you get to dan level, to get your next dan, you have to do kata. There's two components. One is the points. So you need 100 points, I think it is, from competition. I think I've got about 2,000 points. But then I'd have to do a kata as well to get the third dan. And the kata's like, it's a Goshin Jitsu self-defense kata. And for me, it's like the time I take to learn that could be time I could be trying to, get better at judo or spend with my family or so. Yeah, I'm not the most darned out guy, but I guess it's never really appealed to me anyway. Like, I don't know. I don't think my dan should, dictate who I am or how good I am or what people think. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is that like a two-person kata, like in the judo ones?
Yeah, they're all two-person. So one's the like, or tori and uki to use the judo terms, but one guy's trying to attack you and you have to do like your moves to show the defense of it. But again, like most things, that's why I love the competitive martial arts, because the martial arts evolve quite, developmentally as we sort of get on. But the kata's kind of like a bit of a throwback to, if we were wearing like armor and fighting as samurai sort of thing.
Don't you wear armor when you go out?
Well, who doesn't these days? But no, it does not have the same appeal to me as competing. So so I can't really bag people for sandbagging because I should have been a third dan a number of years ago. But
and you're a 10-year blue belt in jiu-jitsu as well, so
something's going on here.
I smell a common theme.
Hang on, I'm a 10-year second dan as well. Yeah. Maybe that's the thing, right?
And we're not going to sandbag here. No, not at all. So you said your school, you're back in Bromley. Years ago, we had the privilege to train out of the same spot. And now you guys, how long have you owned your own school for, Jase? How long have you been open for and that? Tell us about it.
Yeah, just over a year and a half now. So when I moved on from my old club, I was actually overseas when it all kicked off. And we sort of needed a space. And Dad was like, well, hang on, I'll get hold of Paul Stokes, who's known for years. And yeah, they were more than happy to have us. And we've been there for about 18 months. And what's really cool is about 95% of my students came with me, but a lot of our returning members or new members are actually people that did judo years ago, kind of fell out of love with it, and then and have come back into it. So they, we've had two of them that finished up when they were blue-brown belts. Now they've come back and actually got their black belts.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah. So it's really cool because it's kind of like, because we moved away, it actually kind of opened up another spot for people to sort of come along to. And that's what I love at the moment with the Jits scene, is that we've got all these schools popping up now. And we remember back in the day, our Sunday session, that was kind of like breaking down the Berlin Wall. It was like the clubs didn't train together. There was there wasn't much groundwork going on, and we kind of we got the founding five fathers of the clubs together, and we all just trained together, and it was this huge thing. But now it's like, there's so many schools out there, and obviously they're all catering to different people. So it's really, really cool to see that.
And you guys, like you say, you've been open 18 months. You're doing fairly well in competing wise. Last year, I think it was last year, Nationals. Well, I've seen some photos of your team doing really well.
Yeah, it's really cool. We are probably, obviously a little bit biased, but we're the strongest club in the country. We've got about 5 real strong players that are up and coming that are already winning on the international scene, or will be winning on the international scene in the next sort of 6 to 12 months. But more important for me is we've got really good people there. Like I hope that I always put across it. For me, it's more important that my guys are good students, and that if someone sees them wearing the Premier Keep uniform, they go, oh, he's a good guy. So we've got a real awesome culture, and we value our top Olympians and that as much as the orange belt that's only been here for 12 months. So yeah, we're doing really well. Financially, we're doing good. I want to within the next 12 to 18 months, COVID aside, I'd like to actually have a player development fund for our guys so that we can help them out going overseas and whatnot. Because as you guys notice, this it's not a cheap hobby that we have in the grappling world. So it'd be awesome to be able to help them out, and we're looking pretty good to be able to do that.
Oh, nice. So with, like you say, you had good Olympians in your club. How early on did you think, right, I'm pretty good at this game, I can throw many men in their pajamas, I'm going to try and go to the Olympics? How early on did you have that as a goal?
It was kind of, believe it or not, it was the opposite. So I've got really vivid, I see it in my head clear as day to this day. It's 1992 Barcelona Olympics, and they lit the flame by firing an arrow. Turns out, and I saw that, and I was like, I'm going to the Olympics. That's my goal. I want to go to the Olympics. I had no idea what sport it was going to be. I just knew I was going to go to the Olympics. And and so judo, I mean, at that stage, I was probably thinking in my head, it was either judo or I did cycling back in the day. And the other sports I played weren't in the Olympics, but that was just always my goal. And then it's kind of like the older I've got, the more I've realized how prestigious it is to get there, but also how it's not just if you're good. There's so many other elements that come into it, and all going to plan. I've missed out twice now, so next year will be my year. Things are going good towards that, but I just need to not get too far ahead of myself with it.
So you're saying it's a little bit difficult. How do you mean? Like, it's like you've got to win. You can't just be the best in your country. You've got to gain points and win regions. Is it?
Yeah, exactly that. So the way the qualification works is basically if you're top 18 in the world, you qualify directly. Other than that, they have what they call a continental quota. So you have to qualify through your continent. So if we take last Olympics, for example, I missed out by one spot. because I messed up a tournament I shouldn't have messed up. That's neither here nor there. But the other thing for Kiwis as well, we actually have a secondary qualification criteria. So we need to prove to the NZOC that we could place in the top 16 at the Olympics. And to do that, we need to, in addition to the judo qualification for the Olympic Committee, we need to beat someone inside the top 32 in the world. So past 2 Olympics, I've managed to do that. This time around, at the moment, there's an argument to say, there's a bit of judo math that you could argue that I have. So, it's kind of
carry the one.
Carry the 2. Hang on,
Round up.
That's the one, right? So there's it's all, but again, all I've got to really focus on is just fighting and competing. So I try not to get too caught up in all the numbers and that sort of stuff. Otherwise, you end up becoming a judo politician, not a judo fighter.
One thing when we talk about that, and like I said about your students, now you can quote me if I'm wrong. I may have got this wrong. You were the New Zealand judo men's coach. Yes,
I was.
There you go. I knew I got it right.
Got it right. Yeah. So after 2016, I was retired. I've done this for long enough. Got to start, kicking some other goals elsewhere. And I was always lined up to go into New Zealand judo coaching role. But, oh man, I just still had the itch. Like I had the music in me still, I still just wanted to fight. I still wanted to compete. And then I really struggled actually coaching people that weren't my students, because we have quite a driven work ethic in my club, and that's not saying the other clubs don't, but I know how my guys tick. I've got good relationships with them, and so when they're out there fighting, I'm just extremely tuned in with them. And then when I was coaching other people, which perhaps I won't say didn't have the same work ethic, but perhaps trained differently to us, it was really hard to try and get them to go to extra 10, 20, 30% when I didn't really know them that well. I didn't know how to get that out of them. And so I kind of left the coaching role and moved into more of a high performance director role. And so what that means is I do all the strategic development. So building the platforms to say, hey, if you want to go to Commonwealth Games, these are the steps to do it. And what I found is that I could have the same sort of impact, but I didn't feel the same pressure that I would coaching people that I didn't have a great, not a bad relationship with, but didn't have that same relationship I have with my guys. So, so I mean, not saying I probably will end up in that role again in the future once I do finally retire for good. But again, I've become that guy, but on that note, it was, it was a good learning experience, and it was good to sort of I guess gauge where I feel we really need to work in New Zealand as far as getting to the next step.
Yeah. Oh, and then I did hear you talk about the Commonwealth Games. So
I was going to say the same thing.
I got you there first. So, and I mean, look, this is for people that don't know you. Obviously, they're going to learn about you here, but for competing wise, and for Bryan and I, obviously we know you. You have dedicated probably your whole adult life to jiu-jitsu and training and trying to get to the elite of the sport and judo. You have given everything you've got to yourself, and obviously to your family, and also to your country. So was it Glasgow? Is it?
Glasgow, yeah.
So tell us about that. How did I mean, just watching you compete in that one was pretty cool, because I knew you, and then all of a sudden I know this guy on the screen. How is that? Tell us. Do
you know what? It's funny, because I've been asked this a few times, and it wasn't even a result I'm the most proud of. Like, I've got other results where I'm a lot more proud of how I fought or what I overcame to fight. But what I love about Glasgow is exactly what you just said, because after the comp, I had people that I hadn't talked to since I was 12 messaging me on Facebook. Hey man, awesome. And one thing I said at the time was if we had a few people back home going through a whole bunch of average situations, ourselves included. We just had Johnny pass away a year earlier, and it was for me, it was when you just give people that little glimmer of something special, And I was like, man, that's pretty much, that's all I can give the people, because I've been through a lot of ups and downs, and you know, especially missing out on things like the Olympics or time away from family. As you say, just dedication to doing it, you know, and then to have this little bit of a reward or a payoff for them, that's, you know, it meant a lot more to me than I was able to mean a lot to other people. And you know, it was the only medal we ever had on display until recently. You know, it was the only medal that I was like, when people would come over, I'd say, grab it, wear it, put it on, it's your medal, you know, like, cause that's what, honestly, that's what it felt like. You say, you know, and so it was like for me, it was like New Zealand's medal. It was like, yeah, it was like, yeah, take it, get your Instagram profile pic done, you know, like, but it was, yeah, and you know, and Moira, my wife, obviously, she picked up a silver. But both of us, if you ask us about it on, you know, on a personal level, we're both like disappointed. Like, we're like, man, I replay my semi-final in my head so many times, and you know, you know, winning a silver is one of the hardest things, because your last fight you have, you lose. You know, whereas in your bronze, you actually have to fight. You know, you win that bronze medal final. So, you know, I know it's still haunts her to this day as well. But it's like, we're really proud of what it was for other people, but for ourselves, as I say, there's other medals or wins that that we're more proud of.
I mean,
that was. Yeah.
So you. I forgot what I was going to say there. So you mentioned Johnny Pittman. So that was pretty big, wasn't it? The whole the incident, and you had
like, I mean, I still can't. Yeah.
Oh, look, Johnny is a cool guy.
I've lost it.
Oh.
Yeah.
No,
like,
Johnny
it was
cool.
really hard for me with Johnny, because you know, literally, to this day, I still miss him. There's probably not many days that go by where I don't think about him. It's still really hard for me to talk about him. And, you know, he was one of these guys, and it's like, admittedly, it really changed how I dealt with my students. And you guys will know it as well. You know, when we're brought up in the old school martial arts, you know, this sort of carry on and that sort of stuff, it's toughen up. It's hard enough. It's just get over it. You know, you're not supposed to actually say, man, I lost and that really sucked. You're not supposed to share your failures and your downs. And admittedly, you know, with having a little bit of, I guess, a reputation with myself in New Zealand, I thought that's what I had to be. But, you know, when that happened, I realized, hey, man, there's everybody's fighting something, right? Everyone's got something going on. And, you know, that led to me actually opening up to my guys and sharing more of my failures, and, you know, letting them realize that, hey, it's okay to lose. Like, that's kind of what the sport is, you know, because like Johnny was one of these guys that he didn't realize how amazing he was. Not as an athlete, like he was. I mean, he was a beast in Jits, and he was a beast in judo, and he was unbelievable in his MMA fight. Rugby league. But I mean, he was like he was the most gentlemanly, caring, courteous guy off the mat, you know, like, yeah. And so, you know, trying to just make my students realize that, hey, you know, you're awesome people. Like, you know, even if you lose, I wouldn't change you for anyone, you know, and I don't really care if you win or lose. And that's a big thing Moira and I have got across with our guys, is that when we're disappointed for you because you're feeling average, but we wouldn't change who you are. And, you know, the other thing is actually having these open conversations with these guys, and doing things like bringing sports psychologists into the team and having conversations, you know, beyond being on the mat, you know. And yeah, it's, you know, it's a shame that it took what happened to Johnny to sort of do that. But, you know, I think that now with that awareness around it, you know, we don't know how many people we have saved by actually being more open. But I imagine that, you know, we've got a bit more open conversation about it in the martial arts now.
Yeah, because we had the commemoration tournament event afterwards as well that helped raise money. But that was an amazing tournament.
Man. I've run the two tournaments, right? Yes. Yeah. And you know, that both of them, like, admittedly, so I'm an old school pro wrestling fan. So, you know, that's why the first tournament was the Survivor Series. This one was this one for Johnny was the King of the Ring. That's the way I look at that. But how cool was that? Like, that day, I think it just came together. We had you guys helping out. We had people just coming out of the woodworks the night before. You know, we had like the likes of like Kerry Sagers and Benji just going, hey, I hear you're holding a tournament for, you know, fundraising for Lifeline. can I go in it? Sure you can. You know, we had like, what was it, 32, might have even been 36 entrants or something like that.
It was heat.
It was a special day.
Yeah, no, it was really cool. I enjoyed that, and I actually, it's quite funny because I don't know if it's on Bryan's, I don't know, on his Facebook or whatever YouTube channel, but I watched some the other day, and it had Stefan, and he got thrown by a young judo dude. Like Stefan took his back, and then he, I don't know,
it was massive. It was Uchimata. It was massive.
Oh, bro, I had to look at him. You all right, mate? Yeah. It was like, oh shit.
I was the referee. The worst part was because when he threw, like as jiu-jitsuers, we didn't really do the head tuck, and Stefan looks back, and I was like, oh, and then he tucks it at the very last second. I was like, oh my gosh, that could have been really bad.
Yeah. There were some really cool matchups on that day, and it was such a good camaraderie around the whole thing. It was really, really cool. But yeah, it was awesome to see that almost clash of the styles, and not so much as in like, you know, wrestling versus BJJ versus judo, but as in like, hey man, that guy's doing a weird technique. Oh, this guy's doing something. You know, like it was just seeing what people were doing in those different situations based on the rules they're used to.
I think the biggest issue I had about that event was when right at the start we thought we'd do the rules, and you brought me out to be a demonstration model, and not one time did you tell me you were actually going to throw me. And I remember landing on my back and then like break falling way after I'd landed. I was like,
oh, brilliant.
Get the shit out of it.
When we talk about competitions, like we said before, you've run 2 competitions. The first one, by far, was probably one of the most enjoyable ones that we did. I think for Groundworx anyway, it was probably the first year we opened because they were white belts when they competed.
That's right. Yeah, you guys were a pretty new team as well, eh?
Yeah. And it was probably and I think we spoke about this on maybe another one, Bryan, didn't we?
Oh, we spoke a couple of podcasts and talked about this.
Yeah, and it's quite funny though. Like for the guys that that was 10 plus years ago, we did that, and then now it's a real popular thing. We did 5-man people 10 years ago, and it was really funny, and that one was really good as well, especially because it actually was styles, because you had like the MMA team, and then you had a couple of jiu-jitsu teams, and you had your judo team, and it was quite cool to get it all together.
Even traditional jits. I think we even had a traditional jiu-jitsu squad in there in some way. Or there might have been a few traditional jiu-jitsu guys that were keen on it.
Yeah,
I think was.
Carl had, there was Troy. Actually, there were a lot of really traditionals. I remember Justin Miller was in one of the judo teams, and that guy's hold down was one of the worst places I've ever been in my life, and I've been all over the world.
Yeah. Oh, that's brilliant. I've got 2 more. I've got 2 more tournaments I will really want to run one day on the same wrestling theme though.
Tables, ladders, and chairs?
No, I want to. So first one. Now you've got me thinking.
We can put a suitcase up there.
Yeah. Money in the bank or something like that. No.
I can't see it with my glasses. I won't be able to open the phone.
So I want to do a battle royale. So basically 64, a draw of 64. Everyone fights at the same time. When you win, you get to rest until the next guy in your bracket is done. So if you win, let's say you win after a minute, and there's no time limit. You just go until there's a submission. And so if you win out, and then the next guy is rinsed because he's had a tough draw, then you've got the easier one to work your way through. So battle royale like that until you obviously one man standing. You just need a massive mat area because you're getting 64 people rolling at once.
Town hall, it's getting redone.
Town hall, let's do it. Let's bring it back. Yeah. And the other one I'd love to do is a Royal Rumble. And so 1 to 30. 1 and 2 fight, and then and it might be every 4 or 5 minutes, and then the next person, when they come in, the person that's been in the longest gets to choose if they keep fighting that person, or if they fight the new person, or if those 2 fight each other, and then they get to rest. You know what I mean? And then work your way down, and then when you get submitted, you're out.
Oh, that one doesn't sound too bad. That one sounds pretty cool.
I'd love to do that. I reckon that'd be kind of cool. But it's just working out the logistics and whatnot. And but I'd always thought those 2 would be pretty cool tournaments to run like that.
Look, I mean, there's been the odd tournament around, but I actually remember one time we wrestled. It was quite funny. It was Crichton Cobbers, I think it was. I doubt if you remember. Yeah,
That was when Steeler was doing. That was when the Wrestling Federation was trying to do the
they had something like that.
Yeah.
So I've had the privilege to wrestle you in training and in competition, and both of them were absolutely hard. So it's been quite fun, but it's quite funny that one there because I'd worked all night. I'd come to the thing, I was asleep, and then my name was getting called out, and I ran on. You absolutely annihilated me. I'm pretty sure anyway, because I swear I lost that one. I went back off and fell asleep. But it was fucking cool. You were 6'2", 6'3".
6'3", yeah.
6'3".
Same.
100 kilos. And it's so, and your balance, and like you said, you wanted to perfect everything when it come through for your judo. So obviously your groundwork and all that kind of stuff. So you constantly were trying to perfect every part of your ground and your stand up to help with your judo. And it really did show, especially back then. When you compete though in your judo, how often do you actually get to use your ground game? Because you have got a good ground game.
Yeah, thank you. It's when I would go and train and compete, well, not so much compete in Jits. I'd always compete in Jits because it was fun and there was more chances to compete. But whenever I'd always train, and I still do, when I go there, I don't just go there, I'm just going to go roll. I'll have a technique in mind that I want to just really work on. I really don't have an ego on the mat. Like, if someone takes my back and taps me out, that's all good. Like, I'm not going to go home and my son's going to look at me and go, "Heard you got tapped out, but don't love you anymore." It's like my family doesn't care, right? So, you know what I mean? Yeah, I'll be more upset about it than that. So I never really had an ego when I'd go and train. And because of that, I'd often end up in situations I'd go, and you guys will maybe feel it when I've rolled with you, I'll just go to myself, what happens if I roll this way? And next thing you know, I'm like, cool, I've pulled the bottom of full mount. Great. The rear pulling of bottom full mount. But it meant that I could sort of like come up with a lot of little mouse traps and a lot of little sneaky moves and, jokingly name techniques after myself and that sort of thing. But
Cost.
The Koster, for example, yeah. But when I then go back and translate that to judo, what it meant was that when I hit the ground, even if I landed a little bit awkward, I had that awareness, that spatial awareness on the ground to then just straight away jump and attack. So as far as winning fights on the ground, locally I win quite a few. Or when I don't really compete locally anymore, but when I compete locally, I would win quite a few on the ground. And often there'll be times where I'd say, I'm going to try and win this one on the ground, if there was a discrepancy in the skill. Internationally, I win quite a few fights with a clock choke.
Great move.
One of the throws I do is just a drop technique, a shoulder throw, I guess you'd say, or sianagi. And often they slide off, and it means that I'm straight away able to get in for a clock choke quite quickly. And also, I think with my limbs, I tend to just be able to find positions with them really well. But in the last couple of years on the ground, I more use it as like a shield and just to be a bit more defensive and to stop anything really happening. Or, with judo as well, if I'm trying to chew up time on the clock, then I can make it look busy on the ground as well. But yeah,
crafty.
Yeah, crafty.
So when you've competed, obviously you beat all nationalities and that kind of stuff. So do you find that there's a certain country or certain certain country that like to compete more? They're going for the throw, but when it gets to the ground, they're a lot better on the ground. Do you find that?
Yeah, real good question. Because in judo, there's a lot of like the traditional wrestling styles of different countries, particularly in Eastern Europe. A lot of them will only be stand-up. So you tend to find like your real powerhouses, your Georgians. Russians do a little bit of the groundwork, but what you find is that more of the younger judo nations, such as like the UK, America, and obviously South America, they really, really go hard on the groundwork stuff. And I had one of my best tournaments was back when I was living in Europe in 2011, and I actually fought Leo Leitch, who's
that was a great fight.
Yeah, black belt judo, but also he was BJJ world champion. He went on to fight in I think he went into fight in Bellator for a while there as well. So just a really accomplished grappler. But, we spent like 90 seconds or 2 minutes just on the ground, and he was throwing everything at me submission wise, and it took all of my 10-year blue belt knowledge to scramble and get out and scramble and get out. But it was one of those things that was like, with the judo as well, you use that groundwork a lot to fatigue them when you go back up top, because if they're having to obviously be really, really defensive, then the next exchange on the gripping, they might be a little bit slow as well. So yeah, he was definitely the strongest grappler I've fought on the ground. In France, I spoke about earlier, like the French, they absolutely love the ground game. When I was training on scholarship there on Tuesday and Thursday mornings from 7 till 9, we'd just do 2 hours of groundwork, and they were real students of the Nowitzki game and the ground game, and very, very, very technical with it as well. So yeah, it was good because that helped me maintain my level. And yeah, but outside of that, most of the big countries, they're usually big throwers. It's easy to stall out in judo on the ground. We just stay in the turtle, and if there's no progression, then the rest will stand it up. So admittedly, that's where a lot of our attacks or our work comes from, just trying to break down the turtle to get some progress.
Yeah, that Lucas Leach was I watched that live. I think it was on the Judo TV on YouTube. And
yeah.
As soon as I hit the ground, I was like, no, it's gone. He's going to go. But I was like screaming backwards and forwards. You say 10-year blue belt knowledge, man. That was awesome work, because he was really trying to submit you. And I was just like, fuck, that was, yeah I was very impressed.
So
at the time, I was like, hey, I'm doing this. Yeah.
I'm good. I'm away. This should work.
No. Yeah.
Barry Horowitz.
So like when we talk around you're traveling and that kind of stuff, is there one trip, and like I said, you've done it a lot, but is there one trip out of everything that you've just gone, fuck yeah, that was amazing? Whether it was you've entered 3 or 4 competitions, or just the people you were with,
Yeah, I mean, one thing I always say to my guys is, always make the most of the moment. And like, even I'll start with a terrible trip. So at the start of this year, I went to Europe for qualification for Tokyo. And the first combo I had, I fought a guy that was, he got a silver at the Worlds a couple of years ago. And it was probably one of my best fights I've ever had. And so I lost the fight, but I started the tour on a high, and I was like, I've got it, all the hard work's paying off. And then from that, it was like, I was like Goldilocks. It was like one fight I was too aggressive, one fight I was too cold, I couldn't quite get the mix, and I ended up losing the next 5 comps I had in a row. And, I was away in Europe by myself, and then I was supposed to have one more comp before all the COVID kicked off, and probably a blessing in disguise, I got to come home early. And then it was one of those ones that was a very expensive lesson, but when I came back, I realized I got actually so much out of that, and now legitimately I'm in the best probably form I've ever been in, because I had that bad experience. But in terms of really, really good results, I mean, it's one of the ones I was the most proud of as well, was when Moira and I went to South America in 2015. We had 3 World Cup events, one in Santiago, Chile, one in Uruguay, and then one in Argentina. And we medaled in each one of those tournaments, and we were the only 2 athletes to medal out of the whole tour, out of every country to actually medal in each of the tournaments. We picked up 2 bronzes and a silver. And
awesome.
yeah, and like the thing was that I've always fought to put New Zealand on the judo map. Like, we're not a strong judo nation, but at the end of that tour, people were, and because my Spanish is pretty good, so I was actually hearing them coaching. You got this New Zealand guy, just got to really watch out for when he does it. They're actually actively like seeing us as being some of the top guys on the tour. So that was definitely my proudest period. And then after that, we came home, and then a week later, we went away and won the Oceania Champs. So, 4 big results in like about 4 or 5 weeks was really, really good. And yeah, it was just a really, really good tour, because it was just one of those ones where I just found a really good flow. My biggest work on is always my psychology, just getting in that right headspace. And yeah, just that tour, it all just came together, and just almost a bit of a chip on our shoulder when we went out there. And that one's always stuck out to me.
So you fight under 100 or over 100?
Hey, come on.
Oh, this is a legitimate question. It's leading up.
What are you trying to say?
Yeah. No, I fight under 100 kgs. So I normally walk around just over. These days I try not to cut too much weight.
Yeah.
I just find, obviously I'm a little bit like, I'm near the end of my career, and I just find that if you're carrying too much weight when you're training hard, the body just doesn't recover as well. So I put a lot of effort into like my recovery and my, just maintaining a good body weight so that I'm actually getting through the trainings, and next day I'm not feeling too beat up from it. But yeah, it's at the moment I've actually gone for a really big weight drop, and I'm the lightest I've been outside of fighting for a long time. So yeah, so I will be under 100 definitely moving forward.
I can only see the top half of you, but you do look like you're quite lean as well. So
thank you. Yeah, I've been it was good. Lockdown, I mean, with all due respect to everyone that had like financial troubles or bad health in lockdown, but lockdown was actually probably one of the best things that's ever happened to me in all honesty, because I didn't have to coach, I didn't have to work that much. I literally just focused on myself and just panel beated a few things. It's like a builder's house is never completed. That was how I was with my body and my judo, because I was always trying to help other people, but this actually gave me a chance to really focus on my own training for a bit. What do you
do for a job?
I got I like to train in different clubs. I also like to have different jobs. So I kind of like, admittedly, I own a gym in Wellington. I own a Snap Fitness in Wellington. I'm a part owner of that. I have a team of personal trainers that work for me as subcontractors. So obviously I've got that. And then I also obviously run our own judo club. Yeah, so.
Well, that keeps you a wee bit busy then.
Fingers and pies.
Yeah. It's all stuff that works really, really well. I'm pretty blessed with the people that work with me and whatnot, but it means I can sort of work from home and travel around and whatnot. So it's a pretty good gig, but it's one that you're always on the clock with.
You must have I suppose you get the benefit of your wife is a national champion, an Olympian, a Commonwealth person. So when you say you work from home and through the break through COVID, you get the opportunity to still train, but not just at a normal training level. If you did, it's still at a very high level. How does home life treat you?
Yeah, it's a really good question. When we first started dating and that, we did have to sort of, I guess, set some rules of engagement around separating. Okay, this is Coach Jason or Coach Moira telling you that you're useless, but I still love you off the mat. Yeah. We used to joke. Moira would like when you're coaching, you're supposed to do like a compliment sandwich. You'd be like something good, something bad, something good. Moira's were low carb. There was no like good at all. It was just straight to the point. But,
what are you doing?
Being a strong, driven South African woman, it was good because you know exactly where you stood. But we're really, really good with that because we can have some really good conversations around it all. And during lockdown, again, it was easy to. I'm pretty self-driven. I'm pretty self-motivated, but it was easy to keep that up because you had someone else in there that was also like, "Yep, I'm training today. Cool, I'm training today." We got some jigsaw mats that were able to just drill some stuff, and with judo, you can do a lot of solo training with like the bands on your turn-ins and all that sort of stuff. So, admittedly, wasn't the same as jumping on the mat and biffing people around or rolling, but it was good because actually, again, forced to take a step back, so actually able to refine a lot of things technically as well.
Oh, nice. Hey, when we talk this, sorry, go back to your club, your wife and your club. What do you actually implement some ground stuff in that club? Like, do you have set time, or is it all let's focus on judo and the stand-up side of things, or do you bring in the judo ground stuff as well?
Yeah, so I'm very obsessive compulsive about making sure we drill everything. So I for like 4 weeks in advance, I'll have all our lesson plans done out. And over that 4 weeks, we'll have a general theme of a technique or a concept. And the idea is that I've got to teach that 4 or 5 different ways, because while we've got some guys that are targeting at a very, very high level, we've got people there that just love judo. So if they turn up and every session's the same, then they go, "What's this boring?" You know, and I think that's one of the, you know, I think that's one of the beautiful things with BJJ is that because, you know, the toolbox on the ground is so developing, and, you know, you get the competitive guys at the moment doing things and people going, hey, how do we do that? You know, there's so much to learn. And so with judo, it's really important that we vary our training techniques. And along with that, we do a lot of work on the ground, more so on like the transitional. So what we'll do is that we might, for a warm-up, particularly in winter, you know, we might warm up, we might drill some turnovers, drill some strangles, that sort of stuff. And then we'll do situational grounds on the round, rounds on the ground. There we go. No, not too different from like some of the competitive BJJ stuff. Like we'll have people like, say, 4 bodies out the front, start on half guard, boom, you've got 30 seconds to get to hold down or submission strangle. Or it might be, you know, attacking turtle for 30 seconds. Or it might be, you know, starting with arm and, you know, trying to finish from there. So we do implement a lot of that. I would love for our guys to have the time to actually do 1 session of BJJ a week. But with the varying schedules, you know, and my top guys, we train, you know, 5 judos a week, and it's a bit hard when I've also got to work and family or study, you know. So I'd love to actually do 1 BJJ a week with them, but yeah, we try and get in as much as we can.
Sunday Nawazas again.
Yeah, well, Sunday's the only real rest day I have, so it's kind of like, you know, I'd love to do it again. I really, and that's admittedly like, you know, what I love about, again, being the club hopper is that you get so many different, like, you know, people, or like, you know, you turn up to a training and you'll have like, yeah, this guy's the man at this club, or the king at this club, and then you go, awesome, I want to roll with this guy and feel what he does, and, you know, and just sort of experience a different set of questions. I like that idea about martial arts being questions, you know, and when you're doing an attack, you're asking someone a different question each time, and your set of questions will be different from my set of questions. So the more questions I get asked, the more answers I have, the better I become as a grappler. Yeah. So that's, you know, that's one thing I do really, really make sure I'm wary with my guys, because if I'm the only guy coaching them, they're going to be very limited fighters. So that's, again, where I'm really, really lucky. I've got my dad, who's always got a really keen eye for judo, and you know, you want to talk about sandbaggers. He's been a brown belt. He's going to watch this as well.
Yeah, it's good to
Since I've known him.
Since I've known him, every time I see him, I think, is that a black one, or is it? No, it's still okay.
It's white now. It's got white.
I think since since Noah had his Aki's had his brown belt. You know, like he's been like
same piece of arc.
Brown belt forever. Yeah. So, you know, he's got a really keen eye for judo. Obviously, Moira, like, she's very astute with her coaching. She'll see the things behind the throws. You know, you could see that mentally you weren't there, or you know, like you weren't prepared. And she's got a different game than I do. And then we've got a number of, as I say, these guys that have come back and are now black belts. They've just got such a good eye for judo. So I try and give them as many different looks as we can. And that's why I always encourage, like, we've got pretty much open doors for people to come and train with us. And likewise for them to go and train elsewhere as well. Because I think the more looks and the more questions you get asked, the better. And I've always been a believer that if someone went somewhere else and trained and they loved it and they got more out of it and they wanted to move over there, then it's actually a service to everyone if they do. It's like, there's no shame on me. Like, I'm not everyone's cup of tea. You know, I'm Dr. Pepper. Like, some people like me, some people don't. But, like, you know, it's actually better if they find a better hub. And if they do that and grow as athletes, then even better. So
you've done your job. You've planted that seed, and they're still going.
Yeah.
I fully agree.
Job, you know?
Yeah, that's the first thing that happens. Like, people come through the door and it's like, oh, I want to learn jiu-jitsu. I said, oh, sweet, mate. First week's free. See if you like it here. If you don't like it, there's 5 other schools in Christchurch.
Yeah.
Make sure you check them out. You know what I mean? Because I say to people all the time, it's like, not everywhere suits for you. Do you know what I mean? Or not everything. So if I don't mind if students move on because they've got to grow, they've got to do their thing.
Yep.
I think I seen a fella actually your way the other day. He's impaired. He goes to me, I want to go to the Olympics. And I said, mate, I can't help you with that, but I know who can.
Right. There we go. Yeah. And I'm always the same. Like, you know, when people go, all right, where can I train jits? I'm like, well, where do you live? Well, you can check out these guys. And as you say, like, different clubs have got different interpretations of what, you know, judo is, or what BJJ is, or what jiu-jitsu is. And, you know, it's just about, you know, finding like-minded people to roll with. And if they're in the sport, then that's more power to all of us, you know. But
yeah,
I've never had an ego as a coach. Like, you know, if anything, I'm always like, I can't wait till my students leave me. Like, you know, now as I say, I'm having to send these guys overseas to get more exposure and more experience.
Oh, nice, bro, nice. Hey, outside of martial arts, what other sports do you like doing? What do you like doing?
you got time.
I do. I'm very efficient with my time. So I have lots of goals in life. So I love learning languages. That's one of my massive passions. And so I try and dedicate about 2 or 3 hours of that a week towards that. Absolutely love watching basketball. I do not love the Warriors jersey that you're yeah. So I love that sort of stuff. And then, like every sort of Kiwi growing up, I love to hate the Warriors. I follow rugby. I did play a lot of cricket when I was young.
Cricket.
I'm into actually chess is my other massive hobby. Chess is my other thing I love as well, believe it or not.
I love chess. No, I love chess.
Yeah. I just love the mental element of it, and just the concept. Yeah, it's just, I could talk it. You know, I could go on a chess podcast. I'm not that great of a player. I'm only like a 1550 rank, but I love it. So yeah, so
I've got no.
But with obviously having a young family, I try and get a lot of stuff done in the mornings, or you know, outside of family hours. But I guess that's my other real big passion is definitely my family. I know that's the cliche thing we say, but it's like, you know, I'd throw away every medal I ever won, you know, if it meant I could have my kids and that be successful in what they do. But, you know, I'm really proud of what they are. Like my son, Sam, he's 9, he's 10 this year, and he's an awesome football player, swimmer, throws the old judo gi on as well. He's a really cool kid. And my daughter, Nora, is just like her mum and just fearless and driven. So, yeah, that's where a lot of my time gets taken up. And admittedly, their hobbies become my hobbies. So if you want to talk Pokemon or Paw Patrol, I'm your guy.
But that's like when you said the cliche with your family. Like I always seem to be quoting other people's podcasts, but I listened to Kevin Hart and Joe Rogan the other day, and I didn't know Kevin Hart had broken his back. But he said after his accident, he realized he was married to his career and dating his family, and it wasn't until he stopped doing this he realized what his commodity of time was just being used in not great ways. He was just traveling too much, and not so now he'd go off and on, but always come back to spend more time with the family.
Yeah, so sorry, on that then, my other massive hobby is reading. So I try and read about like 40 or 50 books a year. So I've read Kevin Hart's book, and it's, yeah, he's one of these guys, and I think we've all been there, where you chase this thing and you think it's going to be this holy grail when you get there, and then you realize that, nah, actually it was the bits along the way that were more important. And that's obviously what he's saying now for his family. And, you know, for me, you know, when I had this scholarship to go train in Paris full time, I literally, you know, my son was just born, and I literally had to pack up everything and leave him for 9 months. And it was definitely, and even to this day, when I have to leave them, it's definitely the hardest thing about it all. You know, it's, don't get me wrong, I'm blessed to be able to be in the position where I do get to travel the world and compete and, you know, be in that world. But, you know, it's never easy when you leave the airport and are there. But what it means is that when I'm away and, you know, you're in the middle of a training camp, the judo training camps are very unforgiving. You're in the middle of a training camp, you start feeling sorry for yourself. You go like, well, hang on a minute. You know, you're missing out on your family and your time at home and all that. So you don't get to be sorry for yourself. You're not the guy doing it harder than him. You don't get to be sorry for yourself. So yeah, so that's the big thing. It's a big challenge, but that's why, like, I try and shape it so that pretty much every morning I can drop my kids off and pick them up from school, just so that I'm always there for those little things. I try not to miss any sporting events when I'm around. And yeah, just because, you know, I think that's when we grow up as well. That's our best memories. It's just those little things like that. It's not the big extravagant, you know, expenses or whatever. It's just actually just hanging out with the folks, you know. So
well, that one time dad came.
Yeah. Yeah. I think my kids are on the line as, geez, I wish Dad didn't come. Because I'm always here, and I'm one of the noisiest too. I mean, most of my students know I yell and scream. So when my son's playing rugby or my daughter's doing something, I'm probably the loudest one there, and they wish I wasn't there. Hey, but look, going forward for you, Jason, we talked a wee bit about the Olympics. I heard you say you want to try and qualify. What competitions potentially do you have coming up that you need to like prepare for and qualify for? Are they going to be this year? Do you know what's happening?
Yeah, so in my head, when we went into lockdown, again, I'm a planner. So when we went into lockdown, I literally brought up all the spreadsheets in the world and went through every element of my life and planned it. And the big one I said is that, because I love food, you don't get to be 100 kgs not enjoying
Thanks, mate.
food,
Thanks.
not knowing your way around the chocolate aisle in the supermarket. So I had to be really, really clear. And so I outsourced some help to keep an eye on my nutrition, et cetera, et cetera. But I said to myself, I'm fighting in August in Taipei. And so likelihood of that happening, 10%, but that's in my head, that's what's next. But effectively, the new IG or the new judo calendar gets brought out on 20th of June. From that, Moira, my wife, and I will sit down and we'll strategically say, these are the ones I'm going to target. One of the big mistakes I made with Europe is that I went away for so long. And so it basically got really isolated. So making sure I'm going away, getting the job done, coming home, refreshing, going away again. So in my head, as I say, August, but most realistically, it'll probably be near the end of the year, maybe November, December. There's some events in Japan and Asia that I'll target. Failing that, it'll be early January where we've got the European circuit again. But, again, it depends. I mean, we've had COVID, could be like zombie apocalypse next or something that stops it all, but we'll just, we'll see how we go. But yeah, again, it doesn't take much to get me driven, or to get motivated. So in my head at the moment, I'm fighting in August, so that's what I'm working towards.
Nice. Where are you sitting then? So you said it's around points and that kind of stuff. So obviously the last Olympics are supposed to be this year. Obviously you worked your ass off over the last 3 years to get to where you are. Yeah. Does it relate to the last year that you're the really big part of it, or have you earned enough, or what is it?
Yeah. So it's like but we have a world ranking list, and it's basically a fading percentage sort of system. So inside the last 12 months, those points are worth 100%. So you win this tournament, you get 500 points. Then you push those back another 12 months, and then they become worth 50%. So you got to really stay active. And to give a story, the last Olympics, there was about 3 times I thought I was going, but in one of the last tournaments, this kid out of nowhere from Hungary just came through and got a silver, and that pushed him pretty much right into qualification out of nowhere. So until that last event's over, it's sort of still always anyone's, Okay. And that's kind of the cool thing about it, is that it's such a live ranking list that you can't just rest on, hey, well, I'm the defending champ. With COVID, what they've done is they've basically said, all the points that are currently won, they stay the same. Moving forward, whenever we start back up, whatever period we go for, they will be worth 100%. So it's still being respectful to the work that people have done, but it's also, logistical, and that will hang on. We've got to give everyone that shot. So yeah. As it stands, I think I'm maybe top 80, top 90 on the world ranking, which isn't too bad. The goal was after Europe to be top 50, top 60, which would have put me right where I need to be. But as I say, now it's kind of like I get a bit of a do-over because of COVID. So.
Oh yeah. And what do you need? Is it top 36 to get to the Olympics?
No. So for the continental quota, I just need to be the #1 ranked New Zealand athlete across all weight groups. Yep. So there's a few of us going for that ranking, and then also meet that NZOC criteria. So
okay.
As I say, it's kind of like a couple of parts to it. So for me, I just got to win. I just got to win fights. I just got to go back to what I was doing, and that's just fighting. So I'm trying again. I like to do all the planning, but I like to try and keep the the mission simple.
Yeah. Fight, win.
Fight and win. Yeah, don't complicate it.
Okay. Bryan, you got anything else, mate?
Nah.
You're pretty good over there.
I know. Literally, and when you first did your introduction, I was looking at my questions. I was like, oh, fuck me. That's pretty much all the questions I had. Skimmed over. I've got to go back through these again and delve into them now. But no, that's good, man. That's it.
Look, hey, look, it's been awesome having you on, Jase. Look, we do 5 questions. And I'm going to throw them out there to you. The last one, I don't know, may relate to judo or not. But we always have this standing debate, well, standing joke anyway about it. But we'll come to it.
Okay.
So okay, the first favorite throw.
Favorite throw. Drop Cianagi, because I'm 6'3", and most people don't think I do it, but it basically drop down to my knees and throw someone over my shoulder. Yeah.
Oh, nice. Okay, then. What, you're going to keep on into my 5 questions?
I was going to say,
what do you got, Bryan?
How does it go on your knees? Is it not being a man who's more than 70 kgs, but less than 100? How does it feel on your knees doing that one as a big throw?
It's fine. Like, it's not like you don't like drop down on your knees. You know, you kind of slide on in there. So, yeah, I've actually, I'm touching wood because I'm always jinxing myself, but I've never really had an issue with it. So, yeah.
Nice.
Awesome.
Stand up or ground game? Which one actually do you not prefer to do, but which one do you like? Actually, as a just, what do you like doing?
Big pressure.
Either way, I'm gonna like cut my thighs to give it a judo or the. I like using my stand up to take it to the ground.
Nice.
Use my second dan to take my blue belt.
Favorite basketball team?
Warriors.
Dallas Mavericks.
Oh,
Dallas Mavericks.
I could have answered that one.
Favorite wrestler?
Ooh.
When I was really young, it was the Ultimate Warrior, but he turned out to be a bit of a dick. I like Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy, I should say, because he was he was flamboyant. He just did. He didn't care. He just threw himself out there. There we go.
Nice. Okay. Do you wash your belt?
No. I got like 4 or 5 belts. No, I don't wash it.
Right, it doesn't matter. You just don't wash them.
Judo cushions don't count for jiu-jitsu. You
wash your belt, Bryan?
I wash it all the time. I washed it today after training.
Why? You don't need to wash it.
Yeah, because if I have a really bad roll, I wash all the shit off it.
You don't need to wash it. It's no, you just let it be. Then it gets that cool faded, frayed look, and then you wash it. I've kind of. Who's ready to have the black belt? You don't wash your belt. Your belt's just.
Oh, we've had this debate. It's a really good one, actually.
I think someone's calling you.
Hey, look, Jase, we want to thank you very much for spending the time to come on and just share a bit about yourself and let the New Zealand people know a wee bit more about you and judo. And so you are based in Christchurch. You are at the Bromley Jiu-Jitsu Club, but it's tell us a wee bit about your address so people know where to go if they want to catch judo.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, so we're at 27 Bromley Road, which is we're based out of the old the Fujiru Jiu-Jitsu school there. We train Monday, Wednesday, Friday evenings, and we're very beginner friendly. And we always obviously welcome new people. Even if anyone from Jits wants to come down and pick up a few throws, they're always welcome. But it's been a real pleasure talking to you guys.
Cool. So I would highly recommend cross training, especially for just anyone. I was going to say the younger generation, but it doesn't really matter. But any generation that come through, stand up is a big part of jiu-jitsu. Judo has got some amazing techniques and amazing ways to get in. So please, if you have got the opportunity, hit up Jason. It looks like a little scout den, but it's an awesome place inside. Big. I think it's still got the red doors. Is it, Jase?
Yeah, I got a real funny story about that. So we've been training there for about 9 months maybe. And I was leaving training one day and I go, hang on, I went to 2 after parties here from when I was in high school. And then I was like, that's right. Like, it was like, because it used to be at Scout Hall. And then all of a sudden I was like, this like flood of memories came back. I was like, that's right, that guy there was throwing up over there and this there and this there. So it was just like, how could I have trained there for so long and not realize that? But it's the original Jiu-Jitsu club unfortunately got burnt down. So they're now on, what's the old Scout Hall? But
So again, Jason, so sorry, mate, what's your club called again?
Yeah, Premier. The correct pronunciation is Premier Equipe, which is French for first team, but we just say team first. But Premier Equipe is fine.
Okay, so hit that up, guys. Judo in Christchurch, or if you're coming out of town, want to visit someone, hit them up. Oh, look at the logo. There it is.
Look at that.
Nice.
Plenty. Okay, Jase, thanks heaps, mate. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
All right.
All right.
Cheers, bro. Now, can you turn it off?
Of course you can.
Of course he can.
I've lost mine now.
Oh, you turn